You've talked about collaboration a little bit with Mallets, and then at the end of last year. Where do you get some of these resources from, and what is collaboration looking like right now?
Like collaboration with English teachers?
Yes.
Well, usually for English, we collaborate according to our preps. Occasionally we have whole department meetings, just kind of like a check-in. This year with online learning, we have had scheduled meetings on those Fridays, but usually it is the meetings they're not video meetings. At least for me, it has not been. It's been, a check-in with Google Chat type thing or an email. But I will say the teachers that I have collaborated with, like Jennifer and I for AP, we use Google Chat a lot. Sometimes we even FaceTime while we're, trying to plan. For 1H, me, Lisa, and Janet we physically met outside at the beginning of the year, and then now it's been occasional messages, not as much because we've all been teaching 1H for a very long time. And then with English 3, I don't have collaboration with the English 3 teachers as much. We talked about the research paper because we did still do the research paper. I will say that has probably been, for me, one of the hardest, because I feel like we as a department, we as a school and as a district and as a society are trying to do normal things, still the things that we always do, but nothing we're doing is anything like I've ever done. So it's frustrating. And at the same time, I feel like that's what actually brings us, together, is because this is what we always do. We always do a research paper. Mm-hmm. And so therefore we're going to do a research paper. We definitely changed our expectations and what we needed from the students. We just needed to see, basic skills. But that has been frustrating because it's like, okay, I know this is what we always do, but but then at the same time, what do we replace it with?
Right.
I'm trying my best to avoid busy work, but Edpuzzle is the other one I use, because Edpuzzle, and I usually just steal some that are already there. And so I know and hope for the best, but like with Great Gatsby right now, I'd love to show them the movie, but with lagging and their own, so Edpuzzle, someone put segments of Great Gatsby on Edpuzzle with questions, and so they get to watch it and then show me that they watched it. So that's kind of nice too.
That is nice. So I mentioned earlier, you kind of talked about it. English is like pen and paper, grading by hand, reading books in class. But we've obviously transitioned to something else right now. When we get back, probably next year, is there anything that you've done during this past year that you would bring back that you're like, this is actually not that bad?
Well, I think there would be more things I would keep if I had access to Chromebooks in my class, where I wouldn't have to check them out all the time. So I'm going to do my little, sales pitch here. But to be able, because it's not necessarily that I can't get a Chromebook when I check one out. It is a bit of a hassle to make sure that I've checked one out, and then hope that no one takes it when they're not supposed to, and then to actually get it into my room, because those things are not exactly light. And in fact, I was just noticing how banged up our doors are from shoving those carts into things, and the carpets rolled because they're so heavy. So those kinds of things where it's like, there are days like the Nearpods, like those would be something fun to do as an OA or a bell ringer. And they get their Chromebooks when they walk in the door and get set up, and then they do the Nearpod. But it's like, do I want to go through all that hassle for a 5-minute bell ringer to get a Chromebook? Because that is a big deal. So I would like to say I would do definitely more technology in English, because I know that has been something as English teachers when we were trying to incorporate technology more. But at the same time, we didn't want to incorporate technology for the sake of incorporating technology. I needed to see the value of it. And the Nearpods or, Pear Deck or whatever would be valuable, because I can see what they're doing, and you actually control it at times. But again, it's getting the technology into my classroom. So that's part of why I don't use technology as much.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Getting a classroom set for me was just like, wow, this is so nice, because it's at your fingertips. Like you said, it was easy for me to transition everything to online because I had a set there. I never had to worry about checking it out. And Drew, who was next door to me at the same time, I kept saying, hey, do this, you could do this, and he's like, well, I don't have a set. And then he was able to get a set, and then he could do it. But you're right, it's that access, even though you're right. Chances are you could probably check out a cart almost every day and not have any conflicts. But it's that sort of like, it might not work, and then what?
And the idea that to take the time and say, okay, let's say for 5 days straight, I'm going to do a Nearpod as my bell ringer. And so I go onto the calendar, and for 5 days straight, I reserve the Chromebook. But I reserve the Chromebook cart for a 55-minute period or a block period to do a 5-minute activity. And I'm not going to roll that thing back so that someone else can use it during that time. And so that means the Chromebook cart sits here unused, which, no one's going to know except for me, but it's a waste. And then also the idea of and then at the end of the day, rolling it back in there, taking the key where it needs to go, and then the next day repeating that cycle. I mean, that's a good 15 or 20 minutes at the beginning and end of my day that I could be using. Whereas I could literally give them a sticky note and say, okay, this is what I want you to write me. I want you to write me a theme statement on that sticky note right now. Yeah. And then I'm going to come around and check. And if you don't have a theme statement, it'll go in my left hand. If but if it is a theme statement, it goes in my right hand, and then I go and set it down. So that's why, again, I don't use technology, because it's like, I've got all these sticky notes in my classroom. I'm going to use those.
Yeah. So you've jumped into this technology. You guys did a really good job in spring. I do remember the whole copying, making copies, and that. I do remember that. So is there something you look back at? You've done this now for probably 10 months, that you look back and you go, oh, I can't believe that's what I did. Not so much a failure, but like, wow, what was I thinking?
I think it is, especially where I originally started, when we first shut down, I was trying to do business as usual, trying to do the amount of work that we do when students walk into our room, because I'm a bell-to-bell teacher. So from the moment they sit down, they're doing something that is geared towards the lesson, and then they leave knowing what they need to do for the next day. Trying to do that still online, it took me probably 2 months to finally realize in this year, what am I doing? Like I felt like I was literally killing myself, because I would spend all this time getting these agendas ready where it has all the links and everything. And then we get to 2 things. And I'm like, well, how did that happen? But what happens is when I try to get feedback, I'm staring at the screen, can't get people to unmute. Instead, I realize they're doing this because they're typing their response. And I literally said, it's just a yes or no question. Like, literally hit the space bar, unmute yourself and say yes or no. And so those kinds of things. And then attendance, of course, especially at the beginning, takes a lot longer. I mean, there was points where I was literally counting the boxes. Like, okay, I should have 32 boxes in here, 33 counting me. I did learn how to take my box off of Zoom, so I don't have to stare at myself anymore. That I learned this semester, and that has been the best gift ever, just because now I can actually focus more on that, on the students. Yeah, I definitely feel like while I am doing less, I changed the way I do tutorial this semester. So I thought I'm going to do like when we usually have tutorial where students just drop into our rooms. So I use Google Meet for tutorial, Zoom for teaching. So the Google Meet link is the same one, every single tutorial. It's in the agenda. It's on the Google Calendar that's connected to Google Classroom. So anytime between, I have 1:15 to 2:30, they can drop in. And that's exactly what I have had more students show up in the last 2 weeks than I had all semester last year or last semester. And especially with the freshmen, because for the freshmen, it was a battle to get them to come. And partly it's because they don't know what tutorial is. Right. They don't even know what high school is yet. So I am literally just a person talking to them saying, you come to tutorial. And it's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And they started doing it. I've had kids who come once a week.
That's good.
And they just want to verify. They want to see, because I was making them use Google Chat, which is another way to check if they're their writing skills, by the way. Because if they cannot communicate in Google Chat, that is a red flag. And so I've usually said, this is not getting settled in Google Chat. We need to talk in tutorial. I know it's intimidating for them because they're all, and they have to unmute themselves. They have to have their camera on and they have to unmute themselves to meet with me in tutorial. And plus they're competing with the seniors and the juniors, but jokes on them, seniors and juniors don't come to tutorial very often. Am I allowed to say that?
We'll edit that out.
We do, just not like the freshmen. 3 classes of freshman honors. It's a revolving virtual door. So, but yeah, so that has been, I hate being tied to the computer, but it is forcing me to, because I know it's technically time for us to plan, but it really isn't when students are coming to get help. Right. So I'm getting interrupted, and those kind of interruptions I welcome though. So, but yeah, so that's been, I don't know if I answered your question.
You did great.
The moral of the story is I would like to keep using technology if it was more readily available to me in my physical classroom.
I agree.
Easily available to me.
Yeah. I think you're not alone, and probably speak for a ton of teachers on this campus. So we'll probably come back next year. I think we're all kind of just assuming that's what's going to happen. What are you looking forward to the most when we get back on campus?
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like my answer should be the students. No, I'm kidding. No, seriously though, I really do. So I've been teaching on campus all year. And at the beginning of the year, it was a culture shock because I started telling people who aren't in the educational world, you want to see how sad this is, walk onto a school campus. I said, I have lockers outside my classroom and there's no locker slamming. Yeah. There's no kids screaming and yelling at each other. There's no kids sitting in the hallway and I'm tripping over them because they're sitting on the ground eating their lunch. Or, students, there's a bathroom outside my room, students making out in the bathroom over there, or, there's not the teenager, chaos that I didn't realize I loved until I was here. And now it is quiet. I can hear my air conditioning go on and off, and which, in case you guys were wondering, the air still works just like it does when we're physically together. So it's the Arctic at times when it's, cold outside. And then, so they've still been sending air conditioning people out. But it is, I don't know. I think it's definitely the people. I miss, I have teachers on either side of me. They're not here. And so the doors that connect us, the custodians just leave them open because I'm like, why am I closing them? But the lights are off. So it's very, and I am on this side. It's me and one other teacher on this side of the B building. There's nobody. And so I'm, I have the copy machine. I don't know why I need the copy machine, but it's there. So, but it's very, I feel like I've gotten used to it. And I hope that not to the point where when we do go back, that it's going to be a little bit of a culture shock, but there's just not the energy at all. So I don't know what it would be like I have occasionally taught from home, but it's like bringing your kid to work. So where there's, interruptions, and my kids are older, but it's their home, so it's still different. So I think what I miss the most is definitely the students. But for me, it's like as a teacher, when you're teaching something, you can feel if they're getting it. They don't have to say a word. They don't even have to make a face at you. But you know, like, okay, that didn't go well, or half of them aren't getting it because you can feel it. I don't get that feeling in Zoom.
Yeah.
And I'm not 100% they're even actually watching me. For all I know, they're watching something else, which we've had because they too have two monitors, and I'm looking at the side of their face or the top of their head. And so, or I'm in their bedroom, and, so I would love to see them sitting in a desk wearing regular clothes, back to saying, just put your phone away because we're in class now, those kinds of things. So, and I'd like to think they are too, because they have their own distractions.
Right.
No more asking if I can go to the bathroom when their cameras are off. Like, I can't see you. I don't know. So.
All right. So we'll get you out here on a sort of fun question.
Okay.
If anybody's been around you or in your room, everybody knows you're a huge Elvis fan. So the question is, how did you get into Elvis, and why? And then what's your favorite piece of memorabilia you have?
I was a senior in high school. I also went to Bonita High School. And I actually grew up, my parents are loved the Carpenters. So they were more, the 70s. But we used to, there's 5 of us of kids, but when it was just the 3 kids, we used to drive from here to Michigan every summer. Mm-hmm. And so it was in the back of a pickup truck. My dad had a camper shell. He had carpeted it, and we'd listen to music all the time. And so my parents listened to oldies. So I grew up on oldies, and I always have loved the old music, but Elvis, I like the way he looks. And I kind of liked his story. And then it was one of those, my senior year, my friends had made me a happy birthday poster. My birthday is the day after his, so I feel like it's a sign. We just had a birthday, his is January 8th, mine's January 9th. And they had put a poster on a wall, so, with his picture on it, wishing me happy birthday. And then they got me posters for my room, and it just snowballed. And then my mom is a huge supporter of anything that we're into. And so she was buying me stuff all the time. And so then it became like, when people find out you like something, they keep buying you the stuff. And then when I got my own classroom, I had a few Elvis things on the wall. And then students jump on that too. So I was getting Elvis stuff from students. And in fact, Holmes used to always joke that when I had my own children, that Elvis was kind of getting pushed back a little bit by their pictures. And so, which he's kind of right. And then when I moved classrooms, I actually went through a lot of my Elvis stuff and got rid of some things. And then so what's behind me now, which it's the whole wall, is been since the move. So, and students still contribute. But I will say, I want to say probably my more expensive stuff is at home in a box in the garage, because my husband is not an Elvis fan. I mean, I don't know where I put it, but I would say probably I have quite a few Elvis automated things. Like I have, like an Elvis doll that he sings and he dances, and so they're all around my classroom. So students will actually come in and make them sing and dance, and so it's like having little kids in my room. So those kinds of things, the ones that the kids can actually play with, that's what I like.
Okay, so if your husband's not into Elvis, have you been to Graceland? Have you convinced him to get you out there? I actually, the year we met, I went to Michigan again because my dad's family's in Michigan. And one of my aunts had said that if we had planned it, if we wanted to drive from Michigan to Memphis, she would come with me. And so I remember I was waiting tables at Baker Square, which does not exist anymore. It's like Marie Callender's. And I saved all of my tip money because I was going to school too. And I remember I saved in an Elvis tin. And
And so I saved my money for that. And then we did like the KOAs, you know, like where you can rent. So we didn't pay for hotels or anything. So we drove from Michigan to Tennessee and did Graceland. And we actually, and we didn't plan it on purpose, but we ended up being there the week he died. So they celebrate his death. Unlike anything I have ever seen. You guys think I'm an Elvis freak. It is untrue. Holy cow. There was a grandma putting her newborn grandchild onto his grave, asking Elvis to bless her grandchild. And I just stood there thinking, my aunt is not even an Elvis fan. She came just to be with me. And she said, this is the best people watching I have ever had. And I mean, a lot of people dressing up as Elvis. And but you can write the wall that's around Graceland. You can write on it. There's someone standing out there with a felt marker for you to write on it. And then after so long, they paint over it and they start over, which I thought was kind of cool, even though it's vandalism. But yeah, but I mean, yeah, so I have done it the one time.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can. I like Elvis. I don't think I'm obsessed with you. I like his music. Yeah, we'll just end it there because we could probably talk about Elvis for a little bit longer.
I really can.
So thanks for joining us. Everybody else, appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.